Yeah.
Episode 13, we back again. Yeah. Lego. Was Jeep Redboy Eli the quickest recipe to cook? A deeper look into the Bobby Love Dogs. The first part of our quest to track down the Lightner Dogs.
Let us analyze the evidence on this episode of Bulldog Court. Bulldog community, please rise. This is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game.
Court is now in session.
Oh yeah, we're back up in this thing for episode 13, just to show us Grits Grocery, Eggs Poultry, and Mona Lisa was a doggone man it is. We up in this thing. You could have been anywhere else in these Bulldog streets, but you're here with me, and I'm so happy that you did. You underdid. Had a really good time on last week on episode 12, covering a few cases, talking about some things that we needed to discuss as a community. But right now, we're not going to hold your time. We're going to get right into case number 1. Is Jeep Redboy Eli the quickest recipe? Or was it the quickest recipe to cook up in the last era? It could be a lot of people who could name other lines, but I just want to highlight this particular combination, three-way. When you put Jeep Redboy, and those dogs were already, phenomenal bulldogs themselves, just that two-way. It created hybrid rigor, But once you added Eli, man, oh man, they did a little something else. We took it to another gear. We're going to highlight, I'm going to play a short video, and we're going to highlight a few of those, and we're going to discuss after we come out of this video about a few of those Jeep Redboy dogs and some of the animals that they produced, especially when you add Eli to it. Like the here it go.
Was Jeep Redboy Eli the quickest recipe to cook of the last era? The Jeep Redboy combination was already great, but when you added some type of Eli, whether it be Rascal, Chinaman, Hargrove's Rufus, or any of the many Bullison and Eli Jr. blends, it was just like giving fertilizer to a seed. Just add water and watch it grow and then multiply. Here are some examples. Rodriguez Champion Gator ROM has at least 11 different POR or ROM dogs. Even dogs like HTK Roscoe 2XW ROM and Peaks Buford POR. No one homed in on the Gator blood exclusively better than Thomas Peaks, with dogs like Buford and Peaks Goldie ROM. Body Snatcher's Champion Ruckus ROM, or his brother Red Rage that produced Cane Valley's Grand Champion Gracie when bred to Boyle's and Hargrove's Grand Champion Rufus Female. Ruckus threw at least 4 champions, one of which was RCC's Champion Tina when bred to Heavy. Eli Female threw Wildside's Renegade and Lucifer. CH Tramp ROM is another fine example of a champion register of merit dog that produced other champions that went on to become ROM dogs. No greater example than a dog called Goods Chalix ROM, or BOP's R. Gomez. He was off-tramp to a Nigerino and Chinaman bred female. He would go on to produce Champion Dayton, Grand Champion Soog Knight, Champion Sweet Potato Pie, and Grand Champion Lesnar. Yes, I could have mentioned Crenshaw's Champion Brutus, Mainline's or Wilder's Champion Rawhide, and many others, but this short video would have turned into a documentary.
Okay, so we back after the short video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative for you to try to further drive the point home of what I'm trying to convey to the Bulldog community. I want to explain why I chose those particular animals. These were Jeep Redboy dogs that were champions themselves and also registered merit, so they could talk the talk and they could walk the walk, not only in the, in any arena. So that within itself kind of puts the mark up high and where I think it should be as far as the standard that these dogs rose to in that last era. And then on top of that, those dogs that came out of them that were champions, many of them, they also produced at a high level and also became POR or registered merit, like Peaks Goldie and Peaks Buford, and Hightower Kennels. I mentioned Hightower Kennels. He wasn't a champion, but just another. But he was a registered merit 2-time winner. Hightower Kennels Roscoe. If I'm not mistaken, he just was a 2-time winner. But in that Gator, I put him in that lineup, knowing that he wasn't a champion, because I wasn't gonna use the obvious one, and that's because I don't believe that him nor the other two of his brothers were really off of Rodriguez champion Gator. I don't believe Grand Champion Blackjack is a Gator dog. I don't believe neither him nor Skillet or Champion Razor. Okay, hold on. Order in the court. No. We're not gonna do that. Because as far as I am concerned, that court case of who the sire of Blackjack really is has been covered. Those records have been sealed, and that case has been closed for a long time, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not gonna do that one. You can say what you will, you can make a case, but the evidence is overwhelming, in my opinion, that none of the stuff that come down off of him, off of Blackjack, Weird Jack, Dink, any other than Weird Jack Jr., whatever you want to, none of that stuff even resembles even closely to. And I understand, well, yeah, but Black Girl is, whatever. Black Girl is all Big Casey, so they gonna look like Big Casey, but yeah, they double bred Big Casey because they bred him back to his daughter. But anyway, I digress. And if you feel as though you want to say something different, please leave it in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Bite me or whatever. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't do that, because some of y'all niggas might got rabies. I don't know. I'm just saying that that's a foregone conclusion to me. But back to what I was saying about these animals. And so it's like when you look at Jeep Redboy, just by itself, that's like putting, if you cooking, it's like put one of those packs, if you cooking a soup and it already got the potatoes, the celery chopped up, the potatoes already cleaned, the carrots already chopped up in there. They got some seasoning packs that go with it. And all you do is just drop that in the water. Now you just gotta add, get your meat cleaned up, and then you drop your meat in there, and voila, you got you a soup. Add some peppers or whatever you like, and voila, just like that, you got a full meal soup, cause a lot of the work already been done for you by having the Jeep Redboy, just brought in. And just amazing to me that, and I've heard Nonstop, I've heard J-Bo, and I could have, like I said, easily brought some of his dogs into play, some of, Keith Locke, Tallies, all the Mangler and Reaper stuff and all that. I could have brought those in as well. The list, like I said, I could have made a documentary out of the many combination of Jeep Redboy Eli, whether you use Rascal, Chinaman, Rufus, Grand Champion Candy Blood, or Drigger's Blood, Maverick, whatever you wanted to use, you pretty much, I can't guarantee, but I can guarantee you're going to come up with something. And so I always just looked at that as that is the easiest way in the last era to come up with something worth having, is just put those combinations together. And as you can see, if you look at how many of us already know how those dogs are bred. Some of those dogs are not, there's a variety of different ways in which they are bred in the Jeep Redboy. They wasn't all off tab. They wasn't, Ruckus is off a Weirdo, a son of Jeep, bred to a Cottingham female. Some Redboy Medlin's Outlaw stuff. So, some added flavor in there, with the Medlin's Outlaw. Then you got, Tramp, which is the champion of, and a Little Mate brother to, the Tab Dog. And then you have, Locks Bliss. You got, there's many others. Cochran's Little Red Boy, which is another of one of those Little Mates. And, you can, like I said, I could have used Brutus off of Tab, who was a champion, and showed you the many dogs that he produced over time. So, it was just for me, I just thought it was just 1,000,001 ways to skin that cat. And you can do that with other bloodlines and other crosses, but none was just right in your face in the last era, like Jeep Redboy Eli. You know what I'm saying? I could say Jeep Redboy Rascal. That's the more commonly known because, the person Crenshaw having a lot of that stuff on hand, he mixed what he had and it came out Jeep Redboy Rascal. So I just believe that there was really not many others where that was just right in your face. Just go and get this. And then it was so much of it around that it was just easier to get your hands on and easier to get started. You didn't have to make, you could make a long story real short by just putting those combinations together. And like I said, I know that there's others, but this is just my case, that I'm pleading before the community. I'm going to say this right here. I am not the judge nor jury, for it is up to you, the Bulldog community, to decide which way the tide may roll. So please leave your comments. Please leave your opinions. If you think that there was another one, Rip Chaco was in that era, the last era, the Mayday Blood, the 4-way was right in a lot of people's face, and I just think that you just had to be in the right place to get that kind of stuff, but I could be wrong, and maybe you think differently, or maybe you can name something else that was right in your area that was just, just as easy to get and produce just as well, and, pretty much you were sure to get something out of every litter you produced. You was thinking that you was going to get something, but in my time, I just never seen where it was just that obvious and consistent in that way than any other strain I had ever dealt with. But in the case of, is Jeep Redboy Eli the easiest recipe to cook of the last era? This case is now dismissed.
We'll get back to the show after these important messages.
Check out one of the best dog talk shows out here, Bulldoggin with Bo, on Dogman TV, Thursdays and Sundays, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Shout out to his co-host, Nonstop.
Yeah. For our second case, a deeper look into the Bobby Love Dogs. Let us get into this. Now, I want to say probably about 1988, 90. I'm a real young, I'm extremely young at this time. But I'm extremely infatuated with the pit bulls. So there were people who had certain magazines and certain circulations, and I just was trying to get my hands on them so that I could read what was in the magazine, I'm so young, I need to do the reading exercises and everything. I want to read as much as possible, whatever it is, sports pages, the newspaper, whatever. But I'm loving the pit bulls, so, I want to read all about them, whatever you got. So during that time period, man, I used to be reading some of those magazines, and it was this man, Bobby Love, man, Bobby Love. This man, for a brief moment in time in the Bulldog world, was the man, believe it or not. This is a brother. And I later would find out. At the time, I had no idea, just reading the names, I'm not knowing who's, Grand Champion already is. I'm not knowing, I'm so young, I'm not knowing who Kingfish is, or, Grand Champion Red Devil, Wise Maximilian type stuff, but I later would go back and revisit that stuff and see exactly what he was mixing. This guy out of, people that don't know, the Bulldog man out of Ohio had a lot of success. Like I said, I just remember it was just for a moment in time where I saw where he was winning and he had some of the best, I would later find out in Ohio, like he was mixing some of the best dogs in Ohio together to formulate what he was doing. Like he was Ohio to death, he would later incorporate Ramrod's Champion Tramp, who we talked about earlier in the show. He would incorporate that along with all of the Grand Champion Kingfish, the Grand Champion Red Devil, the Grand Champion Art. One of the more famous dogs that he had something to do with, I don't know if anybody remembers, Wild Side's Tiger Lil. She produced dogs like Genghis Khan, Registered Merit, and dogs like Wild Side's Hellraiser. Pretty good producer, good dog, and their mother, Tiger Lil, by Ed Farron being Ohio transplant. A lot of people know him from living in North Carolina, but he's originally from Ohio. And so I believe that was one of the dogs that he came from Ohio with, was the Tiger Lil dog. And, she is double bred Wilman's Susie. Tiger Lil was double bred off of this dog. It was a Bobby Love bred dog. And she was off of Love's Calvin and a dog, what a name. That's a funny name. Love's Seesaw Honey. You may have seen these dogs in the pedigree. And also too, you may have seen a dog called Love's Cassius Clay. Was another famous dog. Love Cassius Clay, aka Jenkins Clyde, was also another name for this dog. Was a well-known dog. Love Satan. That name must have been back in those days, must have been prevalent, because there was another Satan up there that was bad to the bone when I remember hearing about. Love's Grizzly Adams. Love, like dogs like Love's Wally World. But another thing, it was this dog called Love's Casper. And Love's Casper is heavy bred on a dog that I heard J-Bo mention a lot of times, called Lob's Jesse. If you know about Lob's Jesse is a very, very heavy bred Eli dog. I think he's, a lot of Eli Jr., the art and all that stuff, mixed, but he was used, a little bit also in the Bobby Love dogs. Now, when you hear Lob's Jesse is more going to be associated with the Doucette dogs. Doucette took Lob Jesse and blended that in with the Running Hide, Satch and Bloody Sunday stuff to make his line, so the Doucette dogs are a little bit different. They still got Eli, but they coming through Lob's Jesse, Running Hide would also use that, Running Hide's Leroy, and he would use dogs through Hudson's Tex, which is off of Bulletin Arts Missy. Shameless plug. I got a Sporting Dog Journal cover series I'm doing, and one of the first ones I did was with Hudson's Tex on the cover. So check that out. Now, some people might remember a dog. I'm gonna put his picture up here. Indio's Champion Chono, 3-time winner, but he was pretty much the culmination of all of Bobby Love stuff mixed together. He had the Live Jesse, he had the Kingfish, the Wise Maximilian, the Grand Champion Art Blood in there. It may have been, I don't know if it had any touch of Zebo in there, but it had the Tramp and the Turtle Buster. So all that Ohio stuff all blended and mixed in together. He even had a touch of Sorrell's Blue Monday, Champion Sorrell's Blue Monday. don't wait a minute.
Hey, bro,
don't get that twisted with the name.
Come on, man.
Blue Monday. I'm gonna put a picture of him right here to calm your nerves. He was a buckskin, okay? He was a buckskin. But I don't know why they gave him that name, because that kind of threw me off too. I had to see, was he a blue nose or not? Was he blue? But not. Maybe he come off of it. But anyway, then you got, and also in that dog was some more Creed stuff. We know that the Wise Maximilian Ross Red Devil is old heavy Creed through the old family Reds. Red Nose, which is, is the theme of today, I guess. I mean, that was going to be coming up in the last case. We see where he blended all of that stuff together. But I digress. I don't know if this is a case where, I'm just pleading the case and just asking the Bulldog community to just take a closer look at Bobby Love and his dogs and look at what his contribution was to the game. Shout out Mike Dan, the man who, came in the game under Bobby Love, from my understanding. So shout out to him and shout out to these dogs. So in the case of taking a deeper look into the Bobby Love dogs, this case is now dismissed. Yeah. For our third and final case, this is the first part of our quest into tracking the Lightner Dogs. And I want to be clear that none of these things that we talk about or that I talk about on this show is for illegal purposes. But this is something that's near and dear to me as far as the history. And I'm serious about the history of these animals and what has been happening to them, and just things that have been happening to them, the way that they are being, in many cases, exterminated from the world. And it's happening across the world, not just in the United States, but across the world. And people trying to, the illegal activity of these animals, and maybe they do understand, or maybe they don't really understand that not everybody does that, and not everybody, you are destroying this breed overall. In your quest to stop people from doing illegal activities, you are destroying the breed as a whole and driving it into extinction. And so when we look at dogs like the Lightner Dogs, they're still around sparingly here and there, and the Heinzel Dogs are here and there. Maybe the last one, maybe I saw maybe circa 2019 or so. That was extremely heavy in the Heinzel. You can, more on the western side of the country, and I think that the Colby family should be commended for how well they have preserved their family of animals for all these years, since the 1800s. And, when you start talking about Colby dogs, Lightner Dogs, Heinzel Dogs, and some of those rare, pure to form old family Reds that we're going to get into and talk about, I'm going to play a short video, a short audio of, Richard Scratton writing, and he talking about, him looking into those dogs, but him being a greenhorn or new in the game at that time, he didn't know as much as he did later on in his life. So therefore he didn't know the questions to ask Bill Lightner. But I'm going to play this audio for you, and we're going to, look at where those dogs went to after he got off those dogs, and trying to maybe see, can we track down some of the original Lightner Dogs. And like I said, I believe they're still around, maybe in Colorado area, and then some, the latter day Lightner Dogs. So here you go.
All of these people knew more than I did about the history of his dogs. They knew, for example, that there was a separate strain of dogs that Lightner had early in the century, having obtained them from his relatives, and these were very much sought after. Then there was what these dogmen called the latter-day Lightner Dogs. Even the most astute student wasn't sure where the later strain came from, but they felt that it was testament to Lightner's genius at breeding dogs that he could create yet another great strain. I asked Lightner about the first strain when I got back, and he said that he had gotten rid of them because he didn't like the color of the red nose. He also liked small dogs, and as far as he was concerned, the red-nosed dogs were running too large. Lightner was a giant of a man himself, and I had always been surprised by the big men, including Bert Klaus and Ham Morris, who liked their pit dogs on the small size. As a matter of fact, Lightner had been a renowned prize fighter in his time, and he had been good friends with some of the great old-time boxers, such as Jim Corbett, famous for beating John L. Sullivan. I wish I had quizzed Lightner about the later dogs, but I surmised that they had been a blend of his old strain with some other quality line, and the rumor was that it consisted primarily of Colby dogs. But we are concerned with the early dogs here, as that was what produced the old family red-nosed strain. While the Lightner family had never sold dogs, they sold off a few before the First World War, as the dog matching had subsided considerably in the area of Colorado in which they were living at that time. Al Dickinson of El Paso and Joe Peace were able to get some of these dogs, and they treasured them highly and kept the line going. These were primarily the large dogs that tended to show the red nose. When Joe Peace and Al Dickinson were both drafted during the World War, Red Howell took their dogs, and some of them went to Bourgeois in Louisiana. The men who used Lightner dogs to the extent that the old family red nose line became famous were Arthur Harvey and L.C. Owens of Amarillo, Texas. The breedings of these famous dog men produced many great dogs, including Hemphill's Gold Dust and Hemphill's Brokejaw. A candidate for the best pit bitch of the century was Lightner's Speed. In 1926, she was bred to Allen's Fighting Tige to produce Harvey's Red Devil. Red Devil was the sire of Centipede and Gold Dust. Centipede was generally considered the greatest dog of his time, and he was 54 pounds pit weight, quite large even for today's dogs. With Lightner's predilection for small dogs, I can imagine the look on his face at raising these large dogs. The interesting thing here is that it was a very inbred strain that was producing such large dogs. In fact, it was probably inbreeding which produced the red nose and red eyes. These are recessive traits, and they are more likely to come to the surface in a program of heavy inbreeding.
Okay, so that audio is not the full audio of the Richard Scranton story but I just wanted to play a certain section of it just to, further show you what I mean about, where these dogs went. And just to tally on to the last part that he made of why he got rid of the old family those red-nosed dogs. He said he didn't like them, and they ran big. And it made me think about the case I had with Don Mayfield as far as the size and the pure family, and that those dogs were bred so tight that they threw a recessive gene of the red nose and the red coat and the red toenails and everything, right? But they were 50 some odd pounds conditioned like pit dogs. So they were, even to this day, I don't know when Richard Scranton wrote this, probably was in the 90s or the 80s, or maybe, when he wrote what he wrote about Mr. Lightner, but that's still big even for today, like 2024. Like, that's a big dog in the American Pit Bull Terrier world, especially when he's conditioned that he's still 54 pounds. That's just a big dog. And so, but it's not uncommon, even if you really, really like a line, when dog men and women get older, they just simply can't handle those big dogs. A lot of people will get off of those dogs anyway because they're just not physically able to handle those dogs. May not be anything wrong with them. It's just that I got old, I can't handle a 54-pound dog. He's going to pull me to the ground. So this may be a thing, but when we look at where these dogs went to, so we see where Joe Peace and Al Dickinson of El Paso, Texas got them. You know, and like you said, he didn't, you know, in the passage you can hear where he said he didn't sell dogs, but towards the end he got off of them, and then you know, both of those guys got drafted into the military. Then Red Howell got them, and then Howell sent some to Bourgeois in Louisiana. Now I think I could have swore I've heard of a strand of Old Family Reds called the Bourgeois strand of Old Family Reds. I don't hear people talk about it, but I could have swore that, or this was a certain area in Louisiana where these dogs were sent to, or could be one of both. It could have been the person. Let me just do a quick search just to look and see if there is a place called Bourgeois, Louisiana, just to make sure that at least we know that there was a place. So, okay.
Cotto Bourgeois is an unincorporated community in Livingston Parish, Louisiana, United States. The community is located 5 miles, 8.0 kilometers, southeast of French settlement, and 8 miles, 13 kilometers, west of Sorrento. The site is on Louisiana Highway 22 and is 1 mile south of Head of Island on the Amite River.
So, well. Livingston Parish, not far from Sorrento. Where have I heard somebody talk about Livingston Parish and Sorrento from time to time on their show? And by the way, I make no gripes about it. One of the best dog talk shows on YouTube, Bulldoggin with Bo. Non-stop and J-Bo do a tremendous job. And he just keep it all the way true to his neck of the woods. And I can recall, because I'm an avid listener of their show, of him mentioning the fact that in his beginning of his career with the dogs, there was a flooding or influx, a lot of these Old Family Red-Nosed dogs in his area. He names a couple of those dogs that was around at that time. Some they went up, I believe, to Arkansas to get Serrano's Trouble or something like that. He mentions these animals, and they had dogs off of these animals. And could this be where these animals were coming from and then spreading throughout Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi areas during that time period and long before that time period? Because those dogs had made their way into Bourgeois, Louisiana, an unincorporated area in Livingston Parish near Sorrento. So this is just one part of it. And then they became famous in the hands of Arthur Harvey and L.C. Owens of Amarillo, Texas. So we got Colorado Springs, where they came out of from Lightner, to a man named Bourgeois, or a place in Bourgeois, Louisiana, and then Amarillo and El Paso, Texas. So, you know, if anybody have information about these Lightner dogs, please feel free to, email me at sportingdogarchive@gmail.com. These animals, to me, are living, breathing artifacts. And I know I do a lot of tongue-in-cheek, make fun and laugh and we joke, but when it comes down to the animals, it won't be anything for us to laugh and joke about if they are gone. And nobody does their due diligence, which I have pleaded to the Bulldog community on many occasions on Bulldog Court about us doing our part to preserve this history. And I'm not talking about anything illegal, just to hang on to those doorways and pathways into the history of this breed and this animal that we love so much. And some of us have sacrificed a great deal to just to even own one of these animals. Just to even have an animal like this comes with a lot. It's just something that I think is near and dear to me. I think this is my case. I'm pleading to the Bulldog community. In the case of the first part of my quest to track down the Lightner Dogs. This case is now dismissed. Oh yeah, now it's time for my closing monologue. Like I say every time, make your next move your best move, but move strategic, like a chess move. You know, the days of the big yards and the 100 dogs, I think those days are long gone in the States. So we literally got to make our next move our best move and get the dogs that we want to have. This is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game. I'm out.